everyone! Welcome to my channel. If you're new, hello! My name is Emily. I created Definite Hearing as a way to increase awareness for the deaf and hard of hearing. In today's video, I'm going to talk about hearing fatigue. To be honest with you, I am exhausted right now. It has been a really long week. There's been a lot going on this week, and I figured, you know what? Now's a great time to talk about hearing fatigue. Honestly, hearing fatigue is exhaustion induced by hearing. And us hard of hearing people are especially susceptible to it because our brain simply has to work harder to hear. The reason for this is because I have a hearing loss, I only get bits and pieces of what people are saying or what I hear. So because I only get bits and pieces, my brain has to compensate for that hearing loss and work harder to understand what people are saying. It's like running a hearing marathon in my brain every single day. And as you can tell, I'm a pretty happy person. I am a long distance runner, so I typically cope really well. But when life and things get busy, say I start exercising more, I have a lack of sleep, I have things that I worry about or think about, it makes me more susceptible to hearing fatigue. The best way that I can describe this is my brain is always constantly on autofill. So when people are talking, I take the context of the situation and I take what they're saying, the bits and pieces that I hear, and I try to put it together and anticipate what they are currently saying in their current sentences. I'm like, okay, this is what they're saying, but I'm also trying to anticipate what they're going to say. And so I have this mix of autofill plus anticipation, and that connected with everything else that's going on in my life just makes me exhausted as I do it day in and day out and for hours on end. Have you ever watched Wreck-It Ralph? There's a character called Mr. Knowsmore, and when little Penelope and Wreck-It Ralph get up to Mr. Knowsmore's desk, he tries to assume what they're gonna say, and he's like, oh, umbrella, that's like what my brain is like when I'm talking to people. I don't necessarily consciously do this, but I have to be consciously present and wholly focused to understand what they're saying, to put the puzzles of speech and understanding together. I recently read a Starkey blog post on exhaustion, and Ian Noon, the head of policy and research at the National Deaf Children's Society in the United Kingdom, said that hearing fatigue is essentially concentration fatigue. He talked about how the energy involved to listen and to understand all day is just exhausting. Trying to hear, put it together, and understand is like playing jigsaw puzzles, Sudoku puzzles, and Scrabble all at once. So for something that comes naturally for hearing people, just hearing and subconsciously piecing it together in their brain and understanding, it's something that's conscious for us hearing people. The second we're not paying attention or we're distracted because we don't understand what's going on, we stop understanding, we stop being tuned in. And because it takes so much energy, it's just hard to do that day in and day out. So for me, hearing fatigue is manifest in a bunch of ways. I know that I'm experiencing hearing fatigue when I'm tired, when my eyes hurt and they just want to close, when my head hurts, when I'm feeling like I just want to sit in a corner by myself or relax. When I was a college student, I knew that about 3 weeks from the end of the semester, my body and myself would just start falling apart because I was so exhausted. I would become more susceptible to my emotions. I would be more likely to cry and to just have to take time for myself because I was feeling exhausted. And this included withdrawing socially. When I noticed this calendar was coming around, I thought, oh my goodness, this is partially due to my hearing fatigue and also the other factors of stress that I'm dealing with in my life. The end of the semester usually meant that projects were due, tests were coming up, grades were going to be determined, and that was incredibly stressful. Coupling that with hearing, listening, understanding between group meetings, lectures, and just interactions with my peers, it was exhausting. And so now that I've graduated college, I still have these cycles and these ebbs and flows, but they're not as obvious in the patterns. So I have to rely on my emotions and realize, wow, am I feeling a little cranky? It could be due to hearing fatigue. And so I guess the next question comes, how do I deal with hearing fatigue? How do you deal with hearing fatigue? I would love to hear in the comments below. But how I deal with it is I have to recognize that I'm feeling a little not myself. I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling tired, I'm ready to take a break. And so the next step is to take a break. For me, taking a break can be something as simple as crocheting, going on a walk or a run, or just taking a nap. I don't take naps often because I feel like I get more groggy when I wake up, but going to bed early seems to help with that. I know for other people, they prefer to take hearing breaks, so they take off their hearing devices and just enjoy the silence for 5 to 10 minutes, or they just distance themselves from others and enjoy some peace and quiet. I've also heard as people recommending reading instead of watching TV, because with reading, you can still enjoy a story without having to use your hearing. I really liked that recommendation. I think I'm going to have to try that more. I haven't tried it very much because I am more of an artistic visual person. I find enjoyment in doing art versus reading. So it's different for every person. But like I said, I would love to hear how you deal with listening fatigue in the comments below. Listening and hearing fatigue is a real thing. If you're hearing and you have a friend or family member that talks about how they're exhausted all the time and you notice they're more susceptible to emotions, whether that's mood swings or just frustration and crying like that, it could be because they're just exhausted from their hearing fatigue. I definitely recommend talking with a doctor, talking about the symptoms to make sure that there are not other related healthcare issues that maybe need to be addressed. But do realize that hearing fatigue is a real thing, and just like any other medical concern, should be treated with rest and efforts to be rejuvenated. There you have it. Do you have any questions about hearing fatigue for me? If so, I want to hear them in the comments below. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to making more awesome videos for you. Have a great day.